Welcome back to the channel, and this is part 4 talking about threads on the E93A engine. As you can see from this PowerPoint page on my computer, there's two typical different types of threads you might see in the UK in the 1930s and 1940s. British cars had BSW, British Standard Whitworth, and American base cars would have had UNC, UNF, Unified National. Same pitch, you can see there, the humps are the same pitch between the nuts and the bolts, but on BSW there's a 55-degree angle, and on UNC it's a 60-degree angle, and you'll see later that that does make a difference. And the Ford's E93A do use the UNC, UNF types, being an American company. It's important to use the right one because you can see here a comparison between BSW in blue and UNC in red, and there's a 5-degree difference, 5 degrees, which means that if you put the two together, you get very small contact points, and you get yellow areas which are basically voids where there's no contact between the nut and the bolt, and that causes stresses and damages to the nuts or the bolts in the systems. Within UNC, UNF, the unified forms, there are UNC, which is coarse for a 3/8 bolt, and for a 3/8 UNF bolt, you can see they're both the same length of threads, 1 inch, but in the coarse it's 16 threads, and in the fine it's 24 threads. And you'll find later that the head bolts on the E93A engine have both 3/8 coarse and 3/8 fine. So here's the block with the studs in for the head. And here's one of the studs removed with a nut on it. And I'm going to take that into the garage now, and let's see what spanner size we need to remove that nut. So here's this stud with its nut on in a vise with some soft jaws made of lead. I'm going to remove the nut and try with different spanners, and I'll show you the difference. So I'm going to try first of all with some BSW spanners, British Standard Whitworth spanners, a selection. So let's try this one first of all. No joy, doesn't fit. Next one, yeah, you could in theory undo it, it's undoing, but it's not very good. You're going to round it off. Try a different size one, a smaller one. No, doesn't fit. Doesn't fit. Try the ring spanner. Doesn't fit. Doesn't fit. So not really very successful with the BSW spanners I've got. So try now with some AF spanners across flats. So 9/16 across flats. Oh, look at that, it's a really good fit. Hardly any movement at all. Bigger one, no good, too loose. There's another 5/8, too big. Another 9/16. Oh, that's a really nice tight fit there. So you can see that this spanner here and this one here were both 9/16 AF across flats, and this one here 9/16 AF across flats. Work well. Well, I've cleaned up this stud with this little wire brush here just to clean the threads up a little bit. This is obviously a fine thread rather than a coarse one, so this will be UNF. So those nuts that fit were the 9/16 across flats, so we're going to put 2 nuts on and see if we can get this stud out. I've not tightened them up yet, but obviously to tighten them up you put 1 spanner on the bottom, 1 spanner on the top, put them in reverse, jam the two nuts together, and then use the bottom nut to try and undo the thread. I shall try that now and see if it works. Right, tightened up. Let's try with this spanner now. Yes, it's moving, so wriggle it backwards and forwards a bit and we can get that stud out. So I shall take that stud out and then we will have a look and see what size it is. So it's come out as a coarse thread, as you can see, and the hole from whence it came, so really coarse thread as well. And then here I've got a 3/8 UNC tap. Let's see if that runs in there nicely. And as you can see, 3/8 UNC going in beautifully, clearing that hole out. And I'm going to repeat this exercise for all the other studs and get this cleaned up. So that's quite a lot of the studs out now. So what I'm going to do now is take you through removal of this stud on the side here. So a quick wire brush just to get the worst of the rust off. I want a bit of rust on it because it sort of helps to, I guess, jam them together to remove the stud. And then we've got the two 3/8 UNC nuts. Sometimes they're a bit tight, sometimes they spin on by hand. In this case, this one is. Take it right down until it's a full nut's depth below the top of the thread or the stud. It's getting a bit tight now, so I'll give it a little wiggle to crack the rust off. Make sure I get it on quite a long way so there's lots of thread for the second one to come on. I'll get that one on. And then with the two open-jawed spanners, lock one against the other. As you can see, these nuts are quite tight. And then I'll give it a tap to loosen the rust, and there we go. So we'll give it about a turn. It's quite tight, moving the hole, wriggle it back and forth to crack the rust. Again, another turn, wriggle it back and forth. I think that's probably going to be okay now, so I'm going to stop the video now and we'll move on to taking the nuts off. So right, getting these nuts off. So I've got some lead in the open jaw spanners here, in the open jaw vise, should I say. Give that a tighten. One spanner on the back nut, one spanner on the front nut. And then crack them off. That one spins off quite easily. And then this one's a bit tighter. It's coming off now. Broken the rust. There we go. One removed along with all its brothers, and we'll get on to the next one. And here we are. We've got a stud. We've got a coarse thread at one end which goes into the block, and that's a 3/8 UNC, and at this end we've got the nut and a much finer thread which is 3/8 UNF. So basically we need 3/8 UNF replacement head nuts to replace onto these studs because they get chewed up. Right, that's them, all the studs removed. There was already one missing. Just with a pair of 9/16 AF spanners, a little hammer just to crack the rust off, and a pair of gloves. It took me about an hour and a half, something like that, to get them all out. As you can see there, there's actually different lengths. Now the three on the left are from another engine, but you can see there, if I take these three away, you actually got 4 that are longer, and I'll show you why those are longer on the other engine. Now the reason why some of the studs are longer is that's like a standard length one. It's got nothing underneath it other than a washer. But that one there has got that extra thickness of the bracket supporting the dynamo, so it's actually a longer one. Likewise, the one supporting the accelerator cable, it's a bit of a bracket it needs to go through, and the other one over there, you can't see it very well, but the earth cable's got a bit of a thickness to it as well, so they've got to put the longer studs in certain places. So you've got to think on, really, as you're doing. You can see at the back there as well, there's one with a longer stud, longer one. I haven't actually got an extra one there. I probably should have put a longer one on there. So for instance here, probably these ones here that support the dynamo, they're probably the longer studs. This one over here tends to be the earth one, and then maybe 1 or 2 of these ones over here are the brackets supporting the alternator, the accelerator cable, and the bracket supports the accelerator cable. So if you get them wrong, it's not the end of the world. You have to spin them out and put them back in again. Okay. So 2 taps here, 3/8 inch UNC, 3/8 inch BSW, British Standard Whitworth. If I put the UNC tap in first into the tap holder, we can get it in. It does tend to get a bit stuck. And we run that through the hole. That runs in absolutely simply. Look, I can do that with, spin it back a bit. I can do that with almost one finger, right to the bottom. Absolutely no issues. Now, same tap holder with a BSW tap in it, in a different hole. I'll put it in this one here. Within about 2 turns, you can feel it cutting. It's actually cutting the hole. So if I carried on, it would go right to the bottom, but it would actually cut a BSW tap with a different angle. It would be the 55-degree angle rather than the 60-degree angle, and effectively it would mess up that hole for the UNC stud to go in, so I won't carry on. So to close off this part 4, just a reminder, BSW and UNC might seem the same, and the threads and the taps, the dies and things will sort of match, but actually they're not the same, and you should stick to UNC or UNF for E93A engines. And hopefully I'll see you in the next part. Thank you for watching.